Hello, 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 and welcome to a brand new episode of Three Drams. As always, I am your host, Matt Healy, also known as Pot Stilled Matt, and I am delighted to be back with you for a brand new episode of Three Drams. It is episode 49 to 50 months on the road with you guys, talking about the world's greatest Irish whiskies, brought straight to your door. We've been doing this for over 4 years. We are absolutely loving this. Spreading the good word of Irish whiskey around the world. I do want to say a very big hello and happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends who will be probably watching this back after the fact. If you're watching it live, what are you doing? Are we not in work? Are we not having Thanksgiving dinner? To all of our non-American friends, hello, how are we? I'm glad to see that we have Marissa joining in from Maynooth. Marissa, of course, always lovely to have you here. Alan as well, a very big hello from Galway. I do know that we have a number of our regular watchers coming in from Cork and the Glanmire crew as well. And then, of course, we can never forget about our walking club in Shneem. We do have some people in Japan, Brazil, Canada, and also Australia who do watch back after the fact. So hello to all of you. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's episode as it goes. And to Mike D, of course, it's always great to have you, Mike. I am so delighted to see your face back again. We have 3 new whiskies for you this evening. I'm delighted to be bringing them straight to your door. There was, of course, if you're a subscriber to 3 Drams, a printing issue, which means your tasting card, which usually goes here, is in fact not there tonight, but it was sent to you in your email. Pull that up on your phone or your computer or whatever it is if you want to watch along with that in front of you. But don't worry about that because we are going to be talking to the flavor makers and creators. And they're going to tell you all about the whiskeys we're having this evening. Of course, if you're a subscriber at 5 minutes to 9, you will get an email in your inbox giving you a discount on each of the whiskeys individually this evening, as well as a further discount if you wish to buy all 3 and ship them directly to your door where it is legal to do so. Olivia, lovely to have you back. Coming in from Claire. Listen, it's all right. Are you coming back after a gap? We have no issues. We forgive you. We're delighted to have you back as well. Of course, guys, as always, this is your ability to ask your questions in the comments. These are the people that are the flavor creators and makers. So make sure that you ask in the comments. One thing I do want to say is before we get going, it is Thanksgiving in the US. They have this commercial holiday called Black Friday that has somehow made it across to Europe, even though we don't have Thanksgiving. But sure, look, don't we all love a deal? And this year in particular, there is one deal that is going on Irish malts I want to tell you about, and this is Goleen Gold. It is a 21-year-old whiskey. It is 46% ABV, and it is for Black Friday today, tomorrow, and for the weekend. It is only $69.99 for the bottle. This is created by the team in Irish Malts. It's a special release. It's a brand that basically doesn't exist. It is just brought out to give you a great deal on some Irish whiskey. As I said, 21 years old. There's only about 280 bottles. Most of them are gone at this point. So if you fancy getting yourself a bottle of 21-year-old whiskey for $69.99, 46% ABV, this is what you should be looking up on Irish Malts. As I said, it'll be gone quick. It won't exist much after that fact. If there's any bottles left after Monday, the price will go up to $84.99 until they are gone. But anyway, I am delighted to be talking to you about the whiskies of this evening. I have my glasses ready here. So without further ado, I want to bring in our first guest of the evening. I would delighted to be welcoming Jeff Burns from Grace O'Malley to talk to us this evening about their Maritime cask. Look at that new bottle that one of my favorite rebrands in Irish whiskey, and we're going to talk all about it. Jeff, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Matt, and a very happy Thursday, and of course a happy Thanksgiving, and just nice day to everybody else who is around and tuning in or will be on the playback.
Well, it's great to have you. I'm loving the energy already. As I said, we're going to have Dram Iver One. We're going to drop it into the glass straight away because I know from 50 months experience that nobody in the comment section is going to wait for you to tell us what's in the bottle. I know they're all going to stick their noses in anyway. So I'm going to have a little nose and a sip. Why don't you give us a little bit of information about Grace O'Malley and tell us what we have in this glass here?
Okay, well, let me give you a little bit of a history background of who Grace O'Malley was for the people that aren't aware. So she was a pirate queen from the 1600s from the west of Ireland. So the whole history of Grace O'Malley and our brand is west of Ireland orientated. And it's got, with, as you gather from the name, Maritime Cask, it's got that maritime aspect of it. For anybody, when they do buy a bottle of it, on the bottom base of the bottle, there is a little seahorse, and one of Grace O'Malley's ships was a seahorse, was called the Seahorse. So that is one of just a little bit of branding on the bottom of the bottle. Anyway, what we brought together was the maritime function of Grace O'Malley, and that particular cask that we're doing is aged by the Atlantic Ocean for 2 years before it's actually, the whiskey goes into it. So with that, you're going to get some nice little salty notes. And to give a background of the cask is French oak. That's virgin French oak on this end of it. And those staves are made and left by the sea, the Atlantic Ocean, weathered for 2 years before the cask is actually made. And we have a fantastic cask master and cooper who came up with the whole project of this Grace O'Malley Maritime cask.
So it's essentially the wood itself is wetted and battled by the Atlantic weather.
Yeah. So in France, there are 2 types of grain of French oak. So we took grain from the north of the country and the south, and there is a difference in the two. So every stave is a northern piece of wood and the southern piece of wood. So the wood is left on the beach in La Rochelle in France for 2 years. The cask is then made, and then you're getting that nice little bit of saltiness coming off the wood. So it is the wood that's absorbing it that goes into the cask, and then you have that nice flavor of the whiskey.
That is genius. I've never heard anybody do that before.
Yeah. So Engrand, who is our cask master, and it's signed, the bottle is signed by him on the label. So he's come up with this nice new aspect to what happens to the cask. And his training was going around all the different cask manufacturers or makers, I suppose, in France, and learning the highlights.
Very good. And this is his own creation then, that he laid them down specifically for you guys?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things on our research, and I may be corrected, but I believe it's one of the first maritime casks that wood is aged by the sea before the whiskey goes into it. So it's not a cask sitting on the beach. It's actually, the wood is aged for 2 years along the beach before the cask is made. And the cask is from Tonnerie de Jarnac in France. So they came up with, Engrand went out, talked to them, said, this is what we want to do, and they are our cask makers. And we only get 3 particular runs out of that particular cask.
Wow, that is used again. Absolutely fascinating. And what, I suppose, what is the idea behind this release? Is it going to be a core range release? Is it a limited edition?
It's part of our core range. Again, going back, because Grace O'Malley was an actual person, a very fearsome pirate, we decided that we want to keep the maritime end of it. And that's where this came, when we were brainstorming it, this is what came out of what we're doing. So it's very much part of our core range.
That's fantastic. I mean, a huge amount of work must go into ensuring that the supply of casks continues with their saltiness for something like that.
Absolutely, and a lot of cask management as the whiskey goes into the cask, and like all whiskeys, it's in a cask for 3 years in the bourbon cask, and then gets put into the maritime casks for around about 6 months.
Well, I think for me, I've just been sipping along a little bit here. I don't know if you have a glass in front of you. I'm going to have my formal taste.
I have indeed. So what we're talking about, as you may be getting the nose of it, the caramel, the vanilla, and then some orange peel and honey notes coming off the nose.
Absolutely lovely. Well, I'm going to say sláinte. I'm going to have a little sip now.
Sláinte to everybody who's listening. So then we should be getting some saltiness to it. And then with that aspect of it, are we getting more of the undertones as it's going down nice and smoothly as people are tasting it?
Absolutely. The saltiness and a bit of kind of like almost orange essence in there as well goes very nice with the grain component of the mouthfeel. So you can get that grain influence to it as well. And by that I mean you can taste the grains rather than a grain whiskey flavor. It's a very, very interesting and very palatable combination of flavors.
And then within that blend of the grain, there's also double distilled malt whiskey and also some pot stilled whiskey. So there's a mixture in that end of it that is giving you those well balanced and finishes. You're also getting some of that nice freshness of the tannin that's coming off that French virgin oak as well. And then we're kind of saying that there's like a Middle Eastern pastry with some salty notes and then some sweetness coming through.
Oh, I'm absolutely loving this. A great start to this episode of Three Drams, I have to tell you. What is the ABV and the price for a bottle of whiskey like this?
So the ABV on it is it's 40%, and the pricing is 40 to 45 euro is the general pricing point on it. So it's mid price, very affordable at that range.
Absolutely, and it definitely doesn't taste like a 40. I would thought you were going to say about 46 to 48% on the palate, just how much flavor is going through. So that's a very nice surprise too. If people around the world are going to be looking for this, are there places around Ireland or around Europe that is retailing?
Well, Irish Malts have all our product range online. So Irish Malts would be our go-to on this end of it. And then afterwards, retail in Ireland in the shops is various off licenses and then super value nationwide. And then worldwide on that, it is available through a lot of off licenses throughout Germany, Poland, Romania. So we have distribution in over 30 countries at the moment. So most of Europe is available, and then also on Amazon in the UK.
That's a nice spread. That's a good availability, I suppose, around the world. And is Grace O'Malley as a brand is it growing into new markets, or at the moment, or is it looking to service the markets that it's already in?
We're always growing. We're always looking for new markets, and growth in markets is with our existing base in Germany and in but places like France, we're trying to grow. The United States, of course, and then in Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia, as well as Australia and New Zealand.
And does the story of Grace O'Malley translate? Does it travel well?
It travels very, very well. And one of the things people like the history behind it. She was a fierce woman for her time, didn't say no for an answer. And we like the spirit of Grace O'Malley in the sense of both the whiskey and the context of people liking the story of what she was about.
Well, that's good to hear that it travels well. Marissa's wondering, will the brand be at Cork Whiskey Fest in March this year, or sorry, in 2025?
We are looking at all the different areas. Our main focus for 2025 is our international distribution and the various trade shows that go along with that, but we will be looking at local events like the different whiskey events that are around the country back in 2025.
That's fair enough. Roisin is saying that the salt lingers and it is delicious. So I think I would absolutely agree that salt and a little bit of those tannins just stay on the tongue, which is very, very, very enticing, very palatable. In terms of the greater Grace O'Malley portfolio, you said that this is a part of the core range now. Are there many whiskies in the core range?
So as you quite rightly said, we did a rebrand, which we launched last May. And within that range, the Maritime is our main whiskey that we're pushing. But we also have a very nice bourbon finished, which we would call an American Irish whiskey, which is called Independence. And then also Taking the nautical theme, we have a lovely rum cask finish at 43% ABV and a dark char cask as well.
And when you're going to these new markets, or say the US, do you see different markets liking different expressions more than the other, or is there like a clear favorite at the moment globally?
Globally, the clear favorite is the new Maritime cask, because people like the story of what we're doing with the cask.
That's very fair, yeah.
And the aging of the cask by the sea. I should say the staves of the cask before the cask is made, because when I say the cask, people think we're putting the cask on the beach. It's the staves that are put on it beforehand.
And that's something that it's already intriguing me, being in the whiskey industry for 13 years. As a whiskey consumer, I would love that story. That's something I'd love to be able to. You can taste it. It's almost tactile in its delivery, which is great. Olivia is saying it's a very tasty dram for a very reasonable price. I have to agree. That for the 40 to 45 euro price range, I think you're getting a great deal for your money there. In terms of, I suppose, future of the brand, is there, are there more expressions that you can talk about, or is there plans for a brand home, or how does the next few years look for the Grace O'Malley brand?
So it's an exciting, challenging time, of course, in the whiskey business. Yes, there will be some new expressions coming out. We have some casks at the moment that we're looking at to bring into the product range. As people may know or not know, within Ireland, getting a new product on the market takes time, and it's also the approval, because there is a very strict technical file and labeling aspect that needs to be produced before we can actually call it Irish whiskey and label it that way. Yeah. So we cannot decide tomorrow we're going to bottle a new whiskey. That label has to be approved by the Department of Agriculture here in Ireland before we can promote that whiskey, and that can take anything from 3 to 6 months. So we have a lead time on it. So we're normally looking at developments probably now for new product range coming out towards the back end of 25 or into the first quarter of 2026.
Yeah, the Department of Agriculture's label approval department is notoriously slow for anybody that's watching. It's one guy sitting in a government office somewhere, and he definitely is either overworked or likes taking his time. But yes, very, very fair. I suppose for people that are experiencing Grace O'Malley first, this brand new rebrand, I'm going to pull up the bottle. I think is an absolutely beautiful new packaging. I actually like it so much, I'm blanking on what the last packaging looked like. This is just stunned me. I saw this packaging at Provine last year when it was first kind of being unveiled, and I've been encapsulated by it since. I think it's very, it's sleek. It's modern with hints of vintageness to the age of the brand's name. And there's a great kind of flow from it, which lends itself to that kind of movement of the waves. How long does a rebrand like that take to execute?
The rebrand it's something, it goes back and forth between a lot of different people within the company, and then getting some outside feedback from our distributors and from the public. The big thing is getting the glass and deciding on that. So our rebrand took us over 2 years from inception to completion, and we were delayed slightly because of our bottles do come at the moment from China, but we're looking to move that closer into European manufacturers. And because the ship had to go around the Cape of around the South Africa, then it took longer. So yeah, you have lots of different logistical problems that can come with it. But 2 years is approximately from when it was incepted to its getting on the shelf.
Well, I have to assume that your distributors and end customers have loved it as much as I do. I think it is an absolutely beautiful new packaging. If you are sitting at home and you get the chance to see one on the shelf or pick it up and buy it for yourself, even better yet, use the discount code of 5 to 9 and get it sent directly to your door. It also has a good weight to it. It has a great feel. I just think from a shelf point of view, it really stands out, and obviously looks good, which is a very favorable and part of a rebrand. So I'm delighted to see that the success of Grace Malley is only going to continue.
And thank you very much for that. Yes, I must say, we're very happy with it, and we're very happy with the feedback that people like. The bottle looks good, but the liquid is really, really 100%, and people are enjoying that taste of that saltiness and smoothness, and at a good price.
Exactly. Has a bottle of Grace O'Malley, popped up somewhere you wouldn't expect it, or if you walked in somewhere a far-flung place and seen it on the back bar? Has there been a bit of moment of that you're kind of seeing how global the brand is?
Well, as I said, we're in about 30 countries at the moment. So, walking into a bar in Japan and seeing it pop up on the back of the shelf there is a nice idea. Like any Irish product, we're always very proud as Irish people to see our products, around the world. But when we see our own one, yes, it is.
Well, absolutely fantastic. For the people at home, is there anything that we haven't talked about the brand or this release yet that you want to leave them with?
I suppose it's within all of our brands are, as I said, within Ireland are available easily, but Irish malts, of course, one of the places to go to for all of our other products that I mentioned. And again, it's something, it makes a nice Christmas present for somebody to try something different.
Absolutely. And I will not stress how much I love this packaging. If I got this on Christmas morning and I opened it and it tastes like that, I'd be even happier. So 40% ABV in the 40 to 45 euro price range. Just to show you the panel again, this is the Grace O'Malley Maritime cask. I think anyone would be happy with this for Christmas time. As I said, 5 to 9 will have a discount in your inbox. Jeff, you'll be even happier. The discount is taken by Irish malts. It has no discount applied to Grace O'Malley as a company, so you'll be even happier. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. I've absolutely loved this whiskey. What a fantastic way to start the show. I really appreciate it, and thank you for bringing a very great and happy energy to the show so far.
Thank you very much, Matt, and to everybody else. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, thank you. I am delighted. What a great way to start Dram Iver 1. It's put me in a great mood now. We're going to go into some new whiskies that we're going to try. And this up next is the Jack Ryan Single Grain. And I'm delighted to be welcoming Sean Conroy to the show. How are you doing, Sean? Welcome to the show.
Good. Nice to see you again, Matt. Long time. And thanks for having us. And I must say, I enjoyed the Grace O'Malley chat. I'm talking to you from Ormore in Galway, which is just down the road from where Grace O'Malley fought her battles and sailed her ships and commandeered other people's ships. So it's nice to see the West. The West is awake in more ways than one.
Exactly. Well, this is Dram Iver, though. Just here, I'm going to just pour this into the glass. We were saying before the show that Jack Ryan whiskey was the first bottle of Irish whiskey I ever bought when I started my whiskey journey in about 2012, 2011. And I've been a big fan ever since. Could you let us know, for the people that don't know about the brand, a little bit of the history of the brand, and then we can get into what we're tasting.
Yeah, sure, Matt. Well, first of all, I suppose for the North American viewers, Jack Ryan is a real person, not copied from any fictional character or whatever. No, Jack Ryan, his father Thomas set up his own whiskey finishing business in Dublin in 1913. And the eponymous Jack carried it on then. And of course, as we all know, in the 50s in Ireland, the Irish whiskey nearly died. But it came back, and of course, it became the fastest growing dark spirit in the world, and I think it still is. And so the brand was revived in 2012-13, you're quite right, Matt, by two of Jack's sons, Owen and Ewan and Connor. And so basically, the Ryans are, we think anyway, you always hesitate to say you're the only, but we think it's the only family-owned, independent whiskey finishing business with its own bonded warehouse, our own repertoire of casks. We bottle our own and we hand label our own. So it is, we don't brew or we don't distill, we're whiskey finishers, which we regard as a noble craft and a noble artisan's craft going back an awful long way. And that's what we do. So it's the sixth generation now. We've got our own bonded warehouse, our own casks, and we take it from there. Up to now, as you know, Matt, we've been focusing on single malts, and I suppose the middle to higher range, €70 and north, a good bit north of that. So, and in fairness, we've had a lot of peer success and review. There's no point going through the various awards, but we've had a lot of awards. But we figured it was about time that we diversified a bit, which is why we went with the single grain. And I suppose we were, let's face it, we were looking for a price point too. We're trying to introduce new drinkers to Jack Ryan whiskey, and there are people that will buy it 100 plus and people that will buy it 70 plus. But we were looking for a price inflection point and yet a good whiskey. And in the past, with our whiskies to date, there have been maybe 14 since we started. A lot of them have been collaborations. For example, Tumivara was a collaboration with Chateau Dubois Calvados, and Raglan Road was a collaboration with an artisan brewery in Monaghan, Seamus McMahon's Brehon Brewhouse, etc. Finisher's Touch, we sent casks to Madeira Island, to Funchal, to Justino's, to Juan Teixeira. So our single malts many of them have been collaborations, and if we may say so, they've been innovative. So we wanted to diversify, we wanted to go into single grain, we wanted to get a good, decent price inflection, we wanted to attract new drinkers, but by the same token, we wanted to keep a little bit of the innovation that we've had up to now. And I suppose with this single grain, well, first of all, it's a different bottle. The Flint bottle we've used for the others, this is a different bottle. You may find it reasonably familiar because some snap drinks have used a bottle like this, but for us it's different in any event. So that's just the presentation. We got Great Northern Distillery to make a mash for us. It's not unusual, obviously, for single grain, 96% French maize and 4% malted barley. And it spent 3 years in virgin oak. And of course, as you know, the virgin oak means that things come forward with virgin oak. Virgin oak has a lot to give. And then after that, we put it in Kendall Jackson Pinot Noir casks from California. So I suppose insofar as there's innovation, it's in that. After 3-4 months in that, we produced the single grain. There is still more of the single grain in cask, and there'll be some further additions, including cask strength, etc. This is 40%. And yeah, we hope you like it. In terms of describing the taste, I'm notoriously bad at describing taste. Ask Wayne Curran, who couldn't be with you tonight. Matt, that's why you're stuck with me. But certainly the virgin oak, does give it the sort of vanilla and the sweet ginger. And then I guess the rest comes from the Californian Pinot Noir. It's a nice color, interesting nose. And I think it's a nice, easy whiskey to drink. And yeah, we feel it's a single grain that retains some of the innovative things that we've done for the single malts to date.
Absolutely. I'm going to say sláinte to you there. Anyone who's imbibing them along at home, I'm going to have a little sip.
Santé, salut, prost. Sláinte.
That is so expressive at 40%. That virgin oak, that almost like buttery sweetness comes, like my palate is coated in that. And I say buttery, and if you're not an avid whiskey drinker, some tasting notes can sound negative. That is not negative. That is a very positive kind of, my tongue almost feels like a layer of oil over it. It's nice and warm and coated. The sweetness and that virgin oak really putting a great base for that Pinot Noir cask. And there is a nice little pinkish hue that it's kind of almost suspended in the whiskey as well, which is quite nice. Alan saying very approachable and enjoyable dram. I'd have to agree with you, Alan. So I suppose, Sean, from the finishing point of view, these casks would be held in your bonded warehouse, your cellars.
Yeah. We keep them. We have a big repertoire of casks at this stage, Matt, from God knows how many places. You know, we've got all kinds of whiskies ready to go, including a few single casks. For example, we won from the last rum distillery in Guyana. We've all kinds of interesting whiskey in cask and casks themselves. So yeah, we got these Kendall Jackson casks, and we've got a good few of them, and we still have liquid in them. So this is really our first effort at single grain, and we're pretty pleased with it. Actually, you mentioned the taste there, and when I tasted it myself first, I wasn't sure. I didn't realize that we were talking about 40%, and to me, it tasted like a 46% or more.
I agree. Yeah.
It has a bit of something about it. Let's face it, nobody, when they finish a whiskey, is quite sure how it will turn out. And the trick is to know when it's done, and also to know when it's not done. But with this one, we were pleased. There's no doubt about it. We were pleased. It was the first single grain venture, and we're pleased with it. Yeah, we're pleased.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that. For those that don't know, obviously Jack Bryan ties into the Beggar's Bush pub as well. Excuse me. So there's not only, I suppose, a customer facing outlet there, but these whiskies are available outside of Ireland as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, they are. And of course, no more than the other whiskies we're tasting tonight, they're available through 3 Drams, of course, and Irish malts. And I do believe there'll be a slight discount there as well, Matt. I'm not sure.
There will be 5 to 9. Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, our whiskies are available in many, many countries. And not, like all whiskey producers, you end up playing musical chairs with distributors, especially for more refined malts. We will have a new distributor in Germany come March. We have Max Piels. In Canada, we had Magnum in Alberta, and we're talking to Onyx now, and we've also been talking to people in the Maritimes and in Newfoundland, the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation. And in France, we expect through our connections in Chateau du Bois to have a new distributor there soon. So no more than everybody else, we're working hard on distribution. And let's face it, Irish whiskey is not so much an event as an explosion. And in an explosion, it's a lot of work to keep your name there. Certainly, all of the awards from the single malts have kept our name there. But with the single grain, it's a new departure, and there's plenty of competition, and we're up for it.
I love it. Gary jumping in saying it's a lovely finish, and it reminds him of Bounty Bar. I love one thing I want to pull up here. I love complex flavor notes, or compound flavor notes, should I say, not complex, compound flavor notes. A Bounty Bar is a great example, because you can unpack, if it tastes like a Bounty Bar to you, you can unpack what a Bounty Bar is. You got chocolate, desiccated coconut, and sugar. And your virgin oak is already going to give you that coconut flavor. The grain is going to give you that sugar, and your Pinot Noir will give you a chocolate inflection point as well. So altogether, I think a great tasting note. Marissa saying it's lovely, warm taste, easy to drink. Alan, very approachable, enjoyable dram. Olivia saying lovely mouthfeel, very smooth finish, delicious. And Roisin is wondering, it's a very interesting dram according to Roisin, but she wants to know what the price point is.
Well, price, of course, is a movable feast, but we have it priced at €35.
Well, 2 very affordable whiskies to start the show with a lot of flavor. I think anybody would be very happy with this for €35. As I said, there will be a discount on that 5 to 9 if you are a subscribing members of 3 Drams. Sean, you mentioned 2 names that I want to go back to. When I speak to people who are finishers or bonders or in the business of taking whiskies and adding a touch to them, there's very kind of normal pedestrian routes that people go down. and usually they don't have access to top name brands. Usually they have to deal with whatever cask they're given. In the world of Calvados, Chateau de Broye is one of the A plus plus houses of Pomerol and Calvados. And then in the world of Madeira, Justino's is probably the world's most famous.
It's huge. Sometimes you go to a place and you talk to people, you ask them, and they agree if you've got a good idea. I suppose the fact that the very first release, the 12-year-old that you mentioned, we call it the Beggar's Bush 12-year-old, that won an Irish Whiskey Award Gold in 2014. Best 11 years and younger single malt. So I suppose, armed with the fact that you had an award-winning malt, I went to Didier Beidou, who was then the general manager of Chateau de Broye, and he said, sure. And in fact, when we said we'd like to use his logo embossed in our label, he was more than happy, because it meant that it was also publicity for his Calvados. And then, of course, it helped that it helped that the Tumivara won a double gold in San Francisco. So success does breed success, and then it also meant that Juan Teixeira in Justino's was more receptive. So. And indeed, we sent casks to him. It wasn't a cheap thing to do. We sent casks. We got casks from Lexington, sent them to Funchal, Madeira Island, had them seasoned by Juan, and brought them back, and then put 10-year-old single malt in them. So there's a lot of work involved in innovative collaboration finishes, but we enjoy it, and it's worth it. Domestically, I suppose the one that we enjoyed a lot was the Raglan Road, the Imperial Stout collaboration with of Brand Brewhouse up in Monaghan. And we enjoyed it a lot because it was Dublin, Monaghan, family to family, Ryan to McMahon collaboration. And of course, the McMahon's brewery is just across the fields from where Paddy Kavanagh was born, and Thomas Ryan set up on Haddington Road. So really, Paddy Kavanagh and Raglan Road just jumped out at us as a name, and an association. But in any event, even though this is a diversification because it's single malt, we like to think that some of the experience we've had in collaboration and just in innovation has shone through in this too. I mean, obviously with the next one, Symphony, which I guess we won't be talking about until next year, it gets even more interesting because we used actually, I have a bottle here, but it's not out. We used a combination of an orange bitters and an old gin cask. So that's making for a rather interesting finish, but we won't talk about that now, but later.
But you heard it here first. You'll get the scoop later on, though. No, I think it's absolutely fantastic. In Justino's and Chateau de Broye, for people that don't know, sitting at home, very much the stallions of their own industries. I know Juan, I know Didier Beidou, two very protective men of their own brands, very protective of their own industries. I just think it is fantastic that you were able to work that collaboration with them to bring in those whiskeys. And now, of course, we're sipping a new direction of Jack Ryan, which I think is absolutely wonderful. For the people, I suppose, looking, pardon me, to purchase whiskeys if they were in the Christmas season or in the new year, what are the current Jack Ryans that are available? Because I know that
we've plenty available. I suppose just reaching for one, Shelburne won Irish Whiskey Award, not the last set of awards, the award before, for the best single malt 11 years and younger, and it's only 5 years. So that's available. And we have actually the Generation Trilogy in a rather nice, if I may say so, nicely produced mini pack. And I don't imagine that there are too many. I don't know now. Again, I don't mean to sound boastful, but each of these whiskies, Tumivara, Haddington, and Finisher's Touch, each of them won gold. Tumivara won double gold in San Francisco. Haddington won gold in Dublin. And Finisher's Touch won gold and best overall in Dublin in the Irish Whiskey Award. So it's an interesting mini pack, to put it mildly. There can't be too many like that. They're single malts. And then, of course, we have the single grain we've just been talking about,
Yeah,
which is available, and others. Finisher's Touch is available too. So
that's the picture of the whiskey we're trying right now as well. Just so you get a better look at it. A little bit hard on these screens sometimes. But I think anybody that will sit down with the Jack Ryan range, whether it's the malts or the grains, will have a great experience. I presume if you're in the Haddington Road area and someone stopped into Beggar's Bush, then you'd be able to have a wee nip or a dram as they sit there at the bar as well.
Sure, of course. You'll always be welcome. Always be welcome. We'll send you away happy. In fact, we won't let you go away until you're happy.
That's perfect. I like to hear. Pardon me, just a little short of breath. For the kind of the tying this up in a nice little bow, is there anything about either this release or Jack Ryan that you haven't told us yet that you'd love to tell people before they go?
Well, not really, other than the fact that we're independent. We finish in our own casks. We bottle them ourselves and we hand label them ourselves. So if anything goes wrong, it's our fault. We take great care, and yeah, we like to think that we innovate. I mean, let's face it, it's a very, very, very competitive market. We all know that. So it's got to be something different about you. So the independence, etc., and the fact that we look for collaborations and interesting and different casks, and of course we've got to get good malt. We're very grateful for our most recent supplier, Great Northern Distillery. We don't distill, we don't pretend to distill, we finish whiskey, but you've got to have a good base, and certainly that triple distill Great Northern from the 96-4 French maize malted barley mash worked really well for us because they finished it in the virgin oak. And so you've got to source good stuff. It's like a recipe. It's like cooking, Matt. You've got to have good ingredients, and then you've got to work your magic on them with your recipe. And we think so far anyway we've managed to do that.
Well, I love it. So this is Jack Ryan single grain, 40% ABV, coming in at about €35. Sean, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You can, of course, find it on Irish Malts. There will be a discount in 11 minutes. I did see that Olivia saying that it will be falling into her shopping basket later on, which I'm glad to see. If you are like Olivia and you want to use that discount code, please do. If you are not a subscriber to 3 Drams, what are you doing? But apart from that, of course, you can find it on the Irish Malts website. €35, can't go wrong. This has been a whiskey completely full of flavor. I've absolutely loved the creamy mouthfeel. I love that Gary called it a bounty bar. There was a lot of people with great responses and tasting notes. So Sean, I think we're going to have some very happy imbibers in a couple of days' time. So thank you very much for your time.
And thanks for having us, Matt.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled by that. We are on to our third whiskey of the evening. We're doing 2 fantastic whiskeys to start. They've had great mouthfeels. Neither have tasted like they're 40%. But now we're moving up to a whiskey that is 45% ABV. So we're going to see what that comparison tastes like. I am delighted to welcome Cyril Walsh to the show. Cyril, welcome. How are you?
Matt, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. It's my first time on 3 Drams, so I'm very excited to talk about St. Patrick's.
Well, I have just filled my glass. This is dram number 3 right here. Dram number 3. There you go. A season before there. This is going to be a great climax, I think, of the evening. Okay. This is your 10-year-old sherry cask finish. We're going in at 45% ABV. We're going to be very different to the first 2 whiskies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this whiskey and St. Patrick's?
Well, I'll tell you, I suppose we started a little bit about St. Patrick's. We're a fairly new company to the scene. We started the project back in 2011, but we only incorporated in 2014. Yeah, we're fairly new. We didn't have a background in the industry. My interest and enthusiasm for whiskey came from a family connection. All of my forebears were moonshiners. And our next new product that we're due to bring out is actually an Irish poaching, which will launch in January. And I don't know if you do poachings, but I think this one will be well worth doing. It features a picture of my great grandmother taken in 1910. But anyway, just to get onto the whiskey we're tasting today, regrettably, the label that you have is actually a last generation. This is the bottle that, if anybody buys, this is the bottle that they will actually get from Irish Malts. That's our current bottle.
Put it up there, Cyril. Just let people see.
Sure. Yeah. This is the current one that will be available from irishmalts.ie. And in fact, that's already been supplanted by our new embossed bottle that we got especially made. This one has Celtic scroll work. It has St. Patrick's embossed on the front. Our American distributor didn't think that St. Patrick's was. I'm actually not getting that in focus there. Sorry. Our American distributor didn't think that it was that St. Patrick's was Irish enough, so he wanted us to put a shamrock in the actual. In the label itself. So that's what it will look like in America, and that one is launching in the States on March 17th. In fact, there's a couple of containers on the high seas at the minute to the States. So we first of all, I suppose a little bit of why I mentioned why I got into the business. We'll start. Sorry, with this particular whiskey. So it's a 10-year-old. This has spent 7 years in American oak. Which was a first fill bourbon barrel. We love bourbon barrels. All of our whiskies start off in American oak. And we can be forever thankful to the legislators in America post-prohibition, because in Kentucky, the home of American bourbon, there were so many unemployed coopers that after prohibition, they managed to get it written into law in Kentucky that they could only use their barrels once. And of course, they aged their whiskey just for 2 years. So our source of barrels in Kentucky will have had a superb bourbon for 2 years, and then it comes to Ireland, and then we only use it once. And as far as I know, we're the only brand that only uses our casks once. So we start off with AB1 grade casks, the highest possible quality, and we use them only once. We started all our whiskies in American oak bourbon barrels, but at 7, we generally recask into a number of different finishes. In this case, this is our sherry cask finish. We also finish in port, and we also finish in cognac. So we have a number of different finishes available. In fact, we currently have 8 whiskies available through Irish Malts. Sherry has long been a traditional aging wood, because it gives off I think a lovely nutty flavour. Have you tasted it yet, Matt?
I've just had a wee nip of it there. Yeah, it's a lovely flavour to it.
Yeah, it's certainly a bigger whiskey at 45%. We like 45% as our drinking strength. In fact, our only whiskey that we do at a 40% is our entry level, which is a cask aged whiskey. The rest we do at 45, and then our cask strength we do at 53. 45 would have been the traditional strength in Ireland for millennia. It was only until the 1966 that 40% became the norm in Ireland. And in the last 10 years, we've been free to basically market at whatever strength we wish, and 45 is our personal preference for most of our whiskies. So it's I think the sherry gives off a lovely nutty complex. I'm getting different aromas and flavors. It's a full-bodied, it's a fairly complex whiskey, and I think it has quite an intense character as well. But yet, it's despite the 45%, it's a fairly smooth whiskey. Secondary aging in a different cask, as you know, brings about an entirely new dimension to a cask. If you leave your whiskey in the same cask for over 10 years, the vast majority of flavour transfer will have taken place by 7 or 8 years. And although the whiskey improves from aging longer, you're not going to get a lot out of that original wood. It's going to be pretty much exhausted by the end of its by 7 or 8 or 9 years. So that's why we transfer into other casks. And in this case, as I mentioned, it's a sherry cask. We're very, very fortunate to have a source of sherry casks through an Irish sherry brand called Irish Cream Sherry, which is a Cork-based brand, and we've been very fortunate to use their casks. This whiskey has been awarded gold at Blas na HÉireann, and also it also won silver. I think it was 94 points or something in the International Wines and Spirits Award. So it's a well recognized award-winning whiskey. Currently, our markets are primarily China. Our biggest market is actually China, and we're now relaunching in the States in March. We have been in the States for about 10 years, but unfortunately, our previous distributor, they had issues, and post-COVID, they had liquidity issues. So we found a new home called Benchmark Beverage Corporation, and they're launching with a selection of our whiskies. They're also bringing in a number of our gins and also our cream liqueurs into the American market from March 17th, with a rollout across 40 states over the next 2 years. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's a pretty big rollout.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be in all states at all times. Obviously, it'll start. It will start in a number of key markets and then roll out over we believe 18 to 24 months after that.
Fantastic. And you mentioned you've other products as well, cream liqueurs, and I know you mentioned.
Yeah, in fact, we've got our cream liqueurs have been. We could say it's probably the most awarded cream liqueur in Ireland. It's won best cream liqueur in Ireland 3 years in a row, 3 different ones, and it's also won at Blas na HÉireann. What's different about our cream liqueurs, very very briefly, is that it starts with our whiskey. We're one of the few cream liqueurs in the market that only uses our own whiskey in the cream liqueur. That's the most important point of difference. Second point of difference is that we only use summertime milk in the cream liqueur because the grass is more lush during the 3 months of the summer, and so we only use summer milk. We're not a huge producer of cream liqueur, so we don't need to produce all year round. Another key point of difference about our cream liqueurs is that we uniquely don't use any preservatives whatsoever. So our cream liqueur, once you open it, you need to stick it in the fridge. It'll stay fresh in the fridge for a couple of months, but don't leave it on the shelf because there's 0 chemicals in it. There's no artificial sweeteners. It's just an incredible product. It's very, very rich, and you get a real taste of whiskey as a mouthfeel. We also make a number of award-winning gins. We currently have 5 gins on the market, from an extra dry through to a classic, a pink, an elderflower, and a sloe and honey. And of course, we have our vodka that we introduced back in. It won Best Vodka in Ireland in 2014. So that's been on the market for quite a few years now. So it's a broad product range.
Absolutely.
The price on this one is €60 in irishmalts.ie, and I understand they may well have a promotion running on this tonight. But if your viewers, they can also go onto our own website, St.Patricksdistillery.ie, and we have a Black Friday event going with a $5 off any whiskey, and we can ship worldwide. On that. We look forward to that.
Well, listen, there's deals to be had everywhere this weekend. If people need to stock up for the Christmas season, it sounds like you're a bit of a one-stop shop right there.
Well, funny enough, actually, you mentioned stocking up for the Christmas season. What we're actually doing right now this week is that we're personalizing individually several hundred bottles. So, for instance, there's we can, because we're printing here on site, we can actually personalize the bottle saying, "Happy Christmas, dear Matt," from whoever the person is, from Cyril Walsh, and we don't charge for that. So we can personalize a bottle of whiskey, and we can ship it within a couple of days anywhere in the world, and we do not charge for the personalization. We're currently doing a lot of business with corporates, so we have some people, a firm of accountants, and they can name every single one of their customers, and each customer gets a bottle with their individual name on it. And of course, if you give somebody a bottle of whiskey with their name on it, they're unlikely to re-gift it. They're quite likely to remain in their drinks cabinet for quite some time until they actually finish the bottle. So that's a pretty unique concept we've rolled out last year, and it's come to fruition this year because it's the numbers we're experiencing have absolutely shot through the roof, because it is so unique and so personal, and a multi-award winning Irish whiskey in your personal name delivered to your door in time for Christmas.
Absolutely. You make a good point that it's a hard regift. I will tell a very quick funny adage
Okay.
that I have an uncle who
Mhm.
doesn't drink whiskey at all, but he used to be the head of some of the TV broadcasters in Ireland, and he gifted me probably about 8 years ago. Gifted me a bottle of Powers 12, the old Powers 12,
Mhm,
not
mhm,
the
mhm.
same.
Yeah.
He clearly hadn't looked in the tube when he was given it, because probably about 15 or 20 years beforehand, the head of Powers in IDL had personalized the bottle
Oh
to
wow.
him, to my uncle from the head of
Ah,
Powers,
oh,
and it was gifted to me with my uncle's name from and a
yeah, yeah.
nice letter and everything. So hard to re-gift, but not impossible.
Well, Matt, obviously you're his favorite nephew, so I'm sure it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional. If you were my nephew, Matt, if you were my nephew, I would do the same.
Absolutely. Well, I loved it, so it was a fine gift for me, so I didn't
Yeah.
complain. For people, you said that your main market's China.
Yes.
Are there any markets around Europe that you might be in, or is Irish malt the calling if people are looking to get you?
Irish malts is the would be our own website. Obviously, our own tasting rooms here, and we'd love to extend an invitation to all of your viewers to come and visit with us in our beautiful tasting rooms here. We've hosted many visitors throughout the summer. A lot of people from Germany have visited. A lot of people from France and also from America. And they can also pick up personalized bottles and also merchandise from our store as well. But our availability in Europe is not tremendous. We do have some markets in Poland and in the Balkans, and we have some distribution through irishwhiskies.ie in Germany, although I'm not quite sure what their current selection is. But we can ship worldwide from our own bonded warehouse here in Douglas and Cork. We can ship worldwide and personalized or not.
And is that where your tasting room is? Is also in
Yes,
Douglas?
indeed. Yeah, in Douglas, in St.
A
Patrick's.
fine,
Mhm.
a fine part of the world,
Well, it is,
Douglas.
yeah. In fact, we're very fortunate that we are located in St. Patrick's Mills, because when we went to register the St. Patrick's brand back in 2011, we faced quite a bit of opposition. But because our premises was actually in St. Patrick's Mills, we were able to say that the reason for our whiskey to be called St. Patrick was because of our address being St. Patrick's Woolen Mills. And we were able to register because St. Patrick, many of your as I would hope that many of all of your viewers would know, St. Patrick is Ireland's patron saint. But it wasn't well received at the time that we were calling it after a saint's name. So we used our address as the convincing argument to get it over the line.
Well, I'm glad loopholes still work. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you remind me what was the price point of this? Is it 60?
This is €60. €60 is the €60 from irishmalts.ie, and also on our own website www.stpatricksdistillery.ie. And we, as I mentioned, we have a Black Friday offer over the next couple of days, and also a special offer from Irish Malts as well.
Fantastic. Is there anything about the brand that you haven't mentioned that you'd like people to go away with?
Oh gosh, just to I'd like to anybody from overseas, if they want something that's uniquely Irish, I would respectfully suggest that St. Patrick's is a eminently memorable brand, because St. Patrick's Day is celebrated worldwide. So if you have any Irish connections overseas, we'd love you to support your patron saint, and we'd love St. Patrick's to be your favorite whiskey.
Well, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I think this has been a stunning whiskey. And again, for a fantastic price point, we've had three whiskeys. Grace Malley for 40 to 45. We had Jack Ryan's for 35, and now a 10-year-old whiskey for €60. I mean, if this show wasn't set up for gifting, which it wasn't intentionally, but it should be now, I think you've got three fantastic options there. Just to flick through the titles again, we did have the Grace O'Malley Maritime Cask, then of course Jack Ryan Single Grain, and then an old image. Get rid of that picture of the 10-year-old cherry cask finish. Cyril, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I think the people in the comment section, and Mike certainly is looking into the brand now. He's very interested. Thank you so much for your time and giving everyone a first glimpse into St. Patrick's.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. It's been a great pleasure to be here. And I'd also just like to shout out and thank Irish Malts as well, who facilitated the invitation.
Absolutely. And as always, a very big thank you to you guys watching at home and to the team of 3 Drams and Irish Malts. As I always say, I am just the very lucky guy that gets to sit down with you guys once a month. I do none of the planning, none of the organizing. I don't pack bottles. I don't create printouts. That is a whole team in Irish Malt that does that. And I want you to defer to them for all comments, praise, and any complaints, because I don't take those either. But a very big thank you to those guys. So to you and all, if you're American, happy Thanksgiving. If you're not American, happy Thursday. And I hope you have a lovely evening, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.